Today we'll be making pumpkin ricotta gnocchi. It's very easy to do, and because their proportions stay the same, you could easily make it for one person or 10 people. Here we have a half a cup of pumpkin, a half a cup of whole milk ricotta, and I'll be adding a pinch of salt and about a cup of flour. So first I'll just mix together the pumpkin and the ricotta until it's completely mixed. It's got a nice still orange color. I'm going to add a nice pinch of salt and then stir that in. And then I'm going to start adding the flour. And the amount of flour that you need depends on how wet the pumpkin is and how wet the ricotta is. You just have to do it by feel. And you want a dough that's nice and soft, pretty pliable, but still slightly sticky, but so that dry enough that you're able to work it. So I've got a cup of flour here, and I'm going to add, maybe 3/4 of it first, maybe a little more than that, and just stir it in. This is so easy that if you had a bigger bowl so the flour didn't fall out, it would be a nice job for a child to do because they would be able to stir it because there's really not much to it. And behind me I have a pot of water that's on to the boil. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Still a little sticky, but that's all right. Maybe the slightest bit. I'm going to flour my surface, and I'm just going to take a little piece of this, and you can see it's a little sticky, but it's not sticking to my hands too much. And you want to roll it, trying not to make as much of a floury mess as I have, into a nice little snake, maybe the size of your thumb. And then we're going to cut it into pieces. Now you could, if you don't want to shape it, you could very easily just cook your gnocchi in that shape, like little pillows, but we're going to get a little bit fancier. So just cut it into pieces. And I'm going to shape it with a fork. And what this will do is to thin it out in the middle so that you'll have a little bit, it'll have little ridges in a dumpling to hold the brown butter sauce. So you pick up a gnocchi and you place it on the tines of the fork and kind of push it with your thumb and roll it and then let it fall off. And you can see the little ridges there. I'm going to use my other finger to see if I can get that to work a little bit better there. And these are sort of charmingly different, each one, which shows that it was made by hand by an amateur. And this would be lovely to have for Thanksgiving, especially if you had some vegetarians. This could very easily be the vegetarian main dish on Thanksgiving. Okay, so here we have our little rounded, not all the same gnocchi. And I'm going to drop them into the water. And this is only going to take just a minute or so to cook. And they will float to the bottom. You don't want to cook too many at once because you don't want them to clump up. And when they float to the top, that means that they're done. So you can hear it sizzling, and that's what we want. And when it starts to sizzle, that's when I'm going to add the sage so it can crisp up in the butter. And I'll add a couple of whole leaves that we'll use for a garnish. And this is you don't want to walk away from this because it will burn very easily. And I don't know if you can see or not, but around the edges it's starting to turn ever so slowly to take on some color. So one of the reasons for shaping the gnocchi is to give little ridges and a little depression that can hold even more of the butter and the sage. So you can see that, there we go, the browning that's occurring around the edges. Just keep swirling it around. And you can stop this at any, oh, there it's going to foam up. You can stop it at any stage along the way. I like it to be fairly and nicely brown. Okay, so here are our gnocchi, nice and loose in the pan. I'm going to take a little bit of this browned butter. Oh, you can hear it sizzle as it hits. And maybe one of these crispy whole leaves for a garnish. And then finish it off with a little bit of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. And there we have pumpkin gnocchi and brown butter sage sauce.